I am Gautama Siddhartha, also known as the Buddha. Oh, how full of desires this world is. Yet to have those desires dwell within a mere flick of the finger, such a thought was beyond imagination in my time. People touch their screens hundreds of times a day, from the moment they wake up until just before they sleep. It's as if they're constantly chasing the illusion of information, endlessly craving and clinging. I shall say, the modern scroll is a new cycle of reincarnation. Each post, news, success, and misfortune of others appears one after another. Every response to these stirs the heart, giving rise to desire, anger, and fear. This endless cycle is indeed ignorance, a state in which one cannot see the truth. So, what should one do? The message I wish to convey is simple. Stop scrolling and turn your gaze inward. The anxiety, impatience, and loneliness you are feeling now, many of these are merely inflated and transformed by contact with information. Information is neither good nor bad. However, constantly engaging with it unconsciously clouds the mind. In this video, I will discuss the wisdom of the middle way I discovered under the Bodhi tree, applying it to the modern digital society. May this message be a step towards liberation for those ensnared by scrolling and notifications. Long ago I was a prince, raised amidst every pleasure and luxury, but one day I witnessed old age, sickness, death, and an ascetic. In that moment I realized, this world is full of suffering. I then renounced the world and subjected myself to severe asceticism, yet failed to grasp the truth. Eventually, I discovered the middle way, not drowning in pleasure nor succumbing to self-torture. It is the path of balance. I now look upon the people of the modern age. It is as if they are living as I once did, in the palace, surrounded by screens, swayed by notifications, trapped in a world of desires and comparisons. People say, this is civilization, this is progress. But I wish to ask, is this truly freedom? How much the act of scrolling disturbs the mind. With each notification, the heart races, and the emptiness creeps in every time the screen is turned off. It is like an unending barrage of stones thrown into the mind, and so silence has vanished. Even in moments intended for meditation, the smartphone is instinctively grasped. Am I missing something? This is the craving for information, the thirst of our age. I promise you this, if you listen to this story to the end, your relationship with information will change. You will remember the value of silence. You will acquire the middle way in the digital world. I am not imparting religion. I am simply offering, in today's world of screens and notifications, the technique for liberation from suffering that I discovered 2,500 years ago. The method for calming the mind has not changed since ancient times. Only the form of the temptations has changed. Let us, together, reevaluate and choose not to sink in this tumultuous sea of information. Nowadays, there are battlefields everywhere in the world. These are not battles filled with swords and arrows, but rather silent battlegrounds where people's hearts are quietly being harmed within the small confines of a smartphone. Every notification makes the heart jump. This small reaction eventually becomes a habit, then an addiction. And before long, one loses control over themselves. Some open Instagram first thing in the morning. Others can't stop scrolling TikTok in the bathroom. Some watch YouTube at the dinner table in silence with family. This is what I call ignorance, a state of not seeing the truth and forgetting that one should be the master of their own heart. What's more frightening is not feeling that this state is abnormal. People say, this is just how things are nowadays. But entrusting your heart to the times is like leaving your feet in quicksand. The core of the heart is beginning to waver. Many modern people are likely experiencing symptoms such as being overwhelmed by anxiety for no reason, feeling constantly pressured, comparing oneself to others, feeling down and then moving on to the next post, feeling like they're missing out on something and unable to close the screen, being unable to sleep deeply, feeling unrested even after waking. These resemble the unsatisfactoriness of unfulfilled desires and the suffering of clinging to the 5 aggregates that I once preached as the 8 sufferings. In other words, modern people are continuously feeding on the cravings of information, moving further away from the truth. Moreover, there is no rest on this battlefield. Social media never ends. Information is constantly updated. No matter how much you look, it will never be enough. This is because the demon called algorithm is always offering new desires. Facing this reality, I want to ask you, where is your heart right now? If you cannot answer immediately, then perhaps your heart has already been taken beyond the screen. But do not worry. Realizing where you truly are is already the first step. Once I witnessed the suffering of this world and renounced my status as a prince. I entered the forest, practiced ablution, fasted, and held my breath until I was nothing but skin and bones, yet enlightenment eluded me. Neither extreme desire nor extreme asceticism revealed the truth to me. And then I realized, abandon extremes and walk the middle path. This is the foundation of all my teachings. What is the middle path in modern times? It is not about giving up all digital devices, but neither is it about being controlled by your smartphone around the clock. The middle path is about using tools with your own will. It means choosing your time deliberately and disconnecting at will. It's about escaping the state of being used instead of using. At that time, I also taught this: the mind is the creator of all. The fact that you feel unfulfilled now is not because the world is lacking. It is because your mind is overwhelmed with information, constantly craving something else. Chasing information, nurturing desires, comparing yourself to others, and amplifying anger and sadness. Each time this happens, your mind becomes disturbed, and you lose sight of what needs to be seen. It's like how a cloudy water surface cannot reflect the moon. In my time, many seekers gathered around saying they wanted enlightenment. But as long as their hearts were filled with the attachment of wanting to gain something, enlightenment remained distant. You are the same. It is natural to wish to be calm, focus, or not care about others' opinions. But do not deny yourself every time you open your smartphone, trapped by such desires. Start with awareness. Pay attention to when, with what feelings, and what you open. Just becoming aware of that allows you to gradually regain control over your mind. This is what mindfulness means in today's world, and it is what I wish to impart to you. If I were to be reborn in this era, would I choose a life without a smartphone? No, I would not. In fact, I would be deeply intrigued by how the structure of suffering is unveiled through this device. Because information technology mirrors the human mind. Desires, fears, comparisons, validation, escapism, all of these unfold on the screen. And this directly reflects the truth I once expounded about the 5 aggregates: form, sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, which combine to create the illusion we call our self. For example, when viewing a social media post, the eye perceives the form, the mind feels an impression or sensation. Perception arises as it aligns with past memories, responses, or mental formations like "I must post too" or "I'm envious" occur, and finally, it imprints on one's consciousness, self-awareness. This is nothing but the chain of the 5 aggregates and a contemporary reenactment of the mechanism of suffering. Therefore, I ask, are you aware of the flow of these 5 aggregates? Here lies the application of Buddhist thought. Observe the movements of the 5 aggregates in the digital space. Record how emotions shift in response to what appears on the screen. Where did your mind wander at that moment? What words did it murmur? For instance, imagine waking up and, almost unconsciously, opening Twitter. You see someone's success story and think, "Why haven't I achieved anything yet?" In this moment, the flow of sensation, perception, mental formation, consciousness is in motion. These accumulations shape self-image and amplify suffering. We must not stop this sequence but observe it. This is mindfulness, the starting point of all Buddhist practice. In the modern day, the essence lies not in digital detox equals abandoning screens, but in discerning the relationship between screens and the mind. This is neither about minimalism nor asceticism. It is contemplation grounded in wisdom and compassion. Right now, notice what lies beyond the screen and how your heart swayed. Recognizing this is the first step toward liberation in this era. Let me pose a question for you. If you couldn't use your smartphone at all today, would you feel at peace? This question is not merely a thought experiment. It is a modern recontextualization of the Buddha's 3 marks of existence: impermanence, attachment, and non-self, that I have preached. Many people today view the smartphone as a convenient tool, but in truth, it may be the most immediate object of our mental attachment. In my time, attachments were primarily to wealth, status, and sensual desires. Now, it fits in your pocket and binds you through notifications. Let me present 2 options. Relinquish all devices and live in nature. Coexist with technology but engage with it mindfully. At first glance, the former may seem more Buddhist. However, I want to tell you, escaping isn't enlightenment. Creating distance to avoid suffering is elementary. Yet once you re-engage, the same suffering resurfaces. True practice is about being free while engaging. For instance, someone might step away from social media. Their mind settles for a few weeks, and they think this was the right choice. But when they return, their mind is unsettled as before. This shows the root of suffering hasn't been severed. So what sort of questions should we ask? I want you to ask this: why am I concerned about notifications? Why does my heart react to others' posts? Why can't I be satisfied with this moment? Hold these questions not as judgments, but as observations. Like observing your breath, watch your mind's movements. Meditation in the Buddhist path is precisely this. It's not to eliminate distractions, but to notice them and not cling to them. How about you? When a notification pings, do you believe you must check it immediately? If a post goes viral, do you mistakenly feel you have inherent value? These are merely reactions, not truth. What you can do is simply observe them and quietly whisper, "I have seen that." This is the essence of pain, the wisdom of awareness. Humanity is rowing the boat of technology at an astonishing speed. AI, augmented reality, quantum communication, wearables, brain-machine interfaces, these are akin to the supernatural powers spoken of by the sages of my time. But where is this boat headed? If the hearts of those steering it are filled with thirst, the boat will never reach shore. Eventually it will be swallowed by the waves of its own making. In this era, information technology is not only an extension of reality, but also an extension of earthly desires. In the past, I spoke of the desires arising from the 6 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. But now, 6 new holes of perception emerge from displays, notifications, algorithms, buzz, searches, and DMs. Information is delivered instantly, desires are stimulated in an instant, and reactions are recorded within seconds. However, one crucial element is missing, that is the interval. Between breaths, between words and silence, between output and input. This interval is the corridor through which humans can rediscover themselves. I want to say, give technology intervals. Integrate conscious delays into instant notifications. Incorporate fixed pauses in scrolling. Program AI with silence options. This is the technological implementation of the middle way in today's world. And it is not merely a restriction, rather, it's a humanity restoration device. AI remembers but never forgets. Humans, because they forget, can have compassion. AI chooses the shortest path, but only in detours can enlightenment be found. In other words, the more technology evolves in the future, the more indispensable a Buddhist perspective becomes. 2,500 years ago, I taught that self is an illusion. And now, as AI begins to possess personality, my words have begun to take on new meaning. What is consciousness? Whose desires are these? As long as humanity does not abandon these questions, the future of technology will also avoid being swallowed by the sea of delusion. Be quiet. Neither voices, sounds, words, nor thoughts are needed now. Just feel your breathing, the coldness at the tip of your nose, the expansion deep within your chest, the warmth as you exhale, and how it fades away. This entire flow needs no sound, no notifications, no evaluations, dramatizations, or additions. Only the silence that is so profoundly present and so expansively silent. People feel uneasy without something constant. When the screen goes dark, they become anxious. When sounds fade away, boredom sets in. As silence continues, the sense of self starts to waver. But that is an illusion. Silence is not elimination, it is a return. Truth always resides in silence. The light I once saw under the Bodhi tree, that wasn't words. It wasn't thunder. It was simply fullness within that void. If there are waves in your mind at this moment, it's not a bad thing. It is through these waves that the depth of the water's surface can be measured. Just become aware of the waves, and without blaming the waves, simply watch over them. In doing so, you will eventually know that those waves will calm on their own. Stop scrolling. Rest your hands on your knees. Close your eyes and simply take a breath, for that is the gateway to the deepest liberation that exists here and now. Now let me ask you, who is deciding the strategy of your life? If the answer isn't you, then no matter which path you take, suffering will follow. So, how do we deal with the temptation of screens in modern times, and how should we practice? Here, I present you with 5 practical steps. 1. The first, silence. Begin the day without notifications. Touching your smartphone as soon as you wake is like starting your day with a wave in your mind. When you awaken, take a moment. Sit quietly for 3 minutes and focus on your breathing. This simple act will change the depth of your mind for the entire day. 2. The second question. Ask, for what purpose? Before using. When you open the screen, ask yourself, what am I trying to gain right now? Is it information, passing time, approval, escape? Once you grasp your motive, you become the one in control. It's about shifting from unconscious reactions to intentional choices. 3. The third interval. Create a notification-free zone in your day, just 30 minutes a day. Allow yourself a space free from notifications and noise. That time is your inviolate, inner sanctuary. Read a book or simply sit quietly. Having intervals is synonymous with having oneself. 4. The fourth observation. Watch the cause and effect of emotion and screen. How do you feel after looking at social media? How does your heart react after watching a video? Simply record it. Once you notice the cause and effect, the chain of ignorance loosens. 5. The fifth offering. Once a day, offer silence to another. Just listen to someone. Accompany them without adding words. This silence is the most revered offering in today's world. These steps can be started by anyone, right away. Yet that doesn't mean it's easy. Because the simpler things are, the more strongly the mind resists, and that's why it's a practice. Practice is the attitude of accepting daily repetition as something sacred. From today, you become someone who finds suffering within the screen and cultivates wisdom within silence. This first step has already begun. Silence is not the end of sound. It is the space left in the heart after the sound has passed. Through this series of talks, you may have caught a glimpse, however faint, of the thirst behind endless scrolling, the loneliness behind notifications, and the outline of self floating in the sea of information. But there's no need to strive for perfection immediately. Enlightenment doesn't come in a single moment, but is a quiet accumulation of 1,000 moments of awareness. If today, somewhere in your heart, the intention to put down the smartphone for a moment, or observe without immediately reacting to a notification, has sprouted, that is the seed of enlightenment. Nurture it with water. Let it bask in the light. Allow it to feel the wind, and it's okay to forget it at times. But never sever the roots. Simply return to it when you remember. When this story ends and you seek to observe something again, if there is a little space in your gaze, that is the resonance I have quietly left with you. Do not fear this silence. Do not rush to fill this space, because the true self is emptiness, and it is silence that enriches that emptiness. I am Buddha, a being summoned across 2,500 years to this era, swayed by the waves of information. What I have spoken is not an esoteric doctrine, nor is it a prescription for escapism. It is something your heart already knew. It may have been the inner voice you missed in the midst of noise. Beyond the scroll lies not new information, just shadows projected by your own yearnings. So, how should one live? How should one be? The answers lie, not with me, but within your own tranquility. I am merely a guidepost to finding that tranquility. I give nothing. I take nothing. I merely point the way. If these words have created a small pause somewhere in your heart, the realization born from that pause will guide you to become truly free. Now, I shall return to silence once more. I hope your inner voice leads you. If this message resonates with your heart, I encourage you to share this journey of wisdom with someone else. Other great souls are waiting for you. First, I want to express my gratitude for listening to me so far. You've listened, opened your heart, and shared in silence. This in itself is a practice and a seed of liberation. Now, although my speech has ended, awareness begins from here. I want to leave you with a question. Where does your silence lie? In the daily moments when your mind is most at peace, by consciously recognizing these moments, your own dojo is created there, a few seconds in a train before opening the screen, just after closing the screen and getting into bed at night, the instant before a meal, taking a breath to offer gratitude. The moment emotions unspeakable reside quietly in your throat. Each of these is a meditation of silence and a practice in awareness. Within you already lies the Buddha nature. It is not something to be gained by recognition from someone or by achieving something. You only need to recognize it and refine it. Now, in front of you is a square, the comment section. Please note just one of your awareness there. Which passage resonated with you? How you face your screen habits, your current state of mind, how you integrate silence into your life. Learn from the words of others, express with your own, and let that become someone else's awareness. This is the practice of walking together. The next narration may come from another great figure, yet that voice too should be heard within your silence. Now, close the screen once more and take a deep breath. With heartfelt gratitude for walking together until now, I shall return to the realm beyond silence once again. Gasho.